What's up, everybody? We are Primetime Props, NBA edition. Our stream is about to kick off. It's our first NBA show of the year. There we go. I'm Justin Carlucci, props.com, here with Keith Eister and Justin Bales, and we have a mega NBA slate. It's early November, but it doesn't change the fact that there's just chaos and questionable tags and back-to-backs and load management already. Boy, oh boy, did we miss this. Welcome to the show, everybody. Keith Eister, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself in case we got some NBA crowd tuning in for the first time, and then pass it off to our friend Bales over there.
Yeah, gotta love NBA. Always keeps us on our toes. We've got tons of injury news breaking already. Austin Reeves was a big one that got ruled out just a few minutes before we jumped on here. That's going to make that the second primetime national TV game very interesting this evening. Personally, been playing DFS since 2016. Got into sports betting pretty huge as DFS kind of waned in popularity around, I would say 2020 is when I jumped into the betting streets super heavy. Have been doing content since around that time as well, but heading into the player props streets, as you know, all kinds of articles up on props.com. Still in the DFS streets as well. But yeah, just day to day, enjoy writing about the sports. I would say basketball is probably my most profitable without having the numbers right in front of me, but NBA just seems to be the most predictable. I think it's easiest to find the edges in rotations and things like that. So I love my baseball, I love my football, but basketball is the true cash cow for me.
Yeah, I think Keith nailed that. Basketball is how do you put it? Because I'm going to jump on the other side. I absolutely hate the NBA. No, the NBA is fine. Basketball is, I generally feel like, the most predictable. I do agree with that. One, like, you get the minutes, you know who's going to get the usage and whatnot. It's just also the most, I don't know if time consuming is the best way to put that, but you just constantly have to be looking. You have to be like quick on your toes for when stuff happens. You have to essentially be able to project out. I think if we just look at Cleveland, there's like 5 guys that are questionable tonight. One of them gets ruled out, changes the way they run the rotation, all that stuff. If you guys don't know, I'm Justin Bales. I was in the DFS streets a few years ago, like really heavy. Kind of stopped doing that, shifted way more towards player props. I do a little bit of betting as well, but mainly just focus on player props. I love college basketball. NBA is a little bit behind that for me. I don't want to say I took last year off. I still did some NBA stuff last year, but I jumped in way heavier this year, and I've been on it way more than basically last year. And then 2 years ago, I was on it heavy too. But I mean, yeah, we can stop chatting about us and start chatting about the actual slate. I'm sure people would rather hear about that.
Yeah, we're getting into crunch time now. It's definitely the most time consuming and frustrating and just ridiculous because, of course, if you're not at your computer or on your phone, depending on what you're investing in, between 5 and 7 Eastern, you're pissing money away. I mean, look at right now. You could have prepared all day for a slate. We're on the show right now. Zach LaVine and Domantas Sabonis just got ruled out, like as we're on the stream here. So you need to be locked in. It's so stressful compared to the other sports. So it's a different animal, but we're going to walk you through it. Again, do us a favor. Give our YouTube channel a follow, subscribe, and like. We're on Primetime Props Football every Friday at 4 Eastern, and our good friend Jeff Edelstein joins us on that show, and you'll see him from time to time here, potentially filling in for me. But we need your support. All of our stuff on props.com is always free. We have a ton of content. I'm proud of our content on props. I really am. I mean, we cover everything. NFL, any kind of props you want. We have a ton of game previews for NBA, best props, first baskets. We have some parlay stuff, all free. We have a really cool NFL live odds tool as well. You can compare odds and lines from every sports book right in front of you. No more keeping track of 10 different apps on your phone and trying to beat the market. Check out our NFL live odds tool. A lot of good stuff going on here. Now that people are joining and fill it up here, yeah, some Kings news right off the bat. And we'll go game by game, and we're going to mix in some sports betting and a little bit of DFS talk. kind of as we go. Feel free to drop some questions in our YouTube chat. If you have some questions for us, get off of Twitter and hop in our YouTube channel. Give us a subscription and ask us some questions. We'll keep an eye on that as well, and we'll be happy to assist you and give us our best takes. So I guess let's just jump right into it. Wednesday, November 5th, huge slate. And for DFS purposes, you got to love DK and FanDuel and the crap they've been pulling the last couple of years, just making the slates different. Tonight, FanDuel kept on the really late games and DK chopped them off. So depending on what your sanity is like or what your availability is, if you want to go to bed earlier, you should be playing DraftKings because it doesn't have the late games. That being said, I have Philly and Cleveland right up in front of us here. And obviously the Sixers on the second leg of a back-to-back. As a Philadelphia fan, just absolutely gut-wrenched. My group chats with my boys yesterday, this Sixers team is so different. Love the motor, love the hustle. Pissed down their own leg like the old Sixers. Blew a 20-point lead to the Bulls. Just gut-wrenching. That being said, maybe there's some silver linings. I do like the ball movement. Edgecombe has been a monster and a pleasant surprise. And as of right now, it is obviously exponentially early in his career, but he's playing the part of the top 3 pick. That being said, Joel Embiid's out on the second leg of a back-to-back. That's the really big news on the Sixers side. Tyrese Maxey has been incredible. And honestly, I didn't think he'd be able to take this more of a leap so quickly in just a couple of months since last season, especially since they shut him down. So, the Sixers still have their flaws, but obviously, despite Embiid being on a minutes limit, there's still some serious usage to go around. Keith Eister, what's your initial thought on the Sixer side of this game?
Yeah, Embiid out obviously is hugely impactful, even though he's still on a minutes limit. He has one of the highest usage rates, is heavily involved in this Sixers offense. Maxey has grown, I think, way beyond what anyone expected. I think we thought that a couple of years ago when he took the initial step. And now this season, he appears to be taking even yet another one. So he's the first guy that you look to. He doesn't get as big of a usage bump as you might think with Embiid out, but I don't care about that because he already has one of the best usage rates in all of basketball, well over 30%. I believe the points line is sitting at 31.5 right now. I like the over on that in this spot here. Cleveland has played faster. They've been a good defense for years, but just last season they began focusing on playing with a little bit more tempo. So not quite as difficult of a matchup for fantasy and accumulating statistics as it has been in years past. So I think the pace of this game is sneaky good, even though Philly plays a little bit slower. The other angle that I like for this is Maxey, for whatever reason, seems to see a decline in his assist rate when Joel Embiid goes down. 7.5 on the assist line today. I don't mind taking an under on Maxey's assists number. So give me over on points, under on assists for Maxey. I don't really have anything else that I'm looking at. I think that whom I'm looking for. McCain is he back? He's out again for this one. So made his debut yesterday, but out again for this one. So that kind of opens it up. We should see Oubre play huge minutes. Grimes probably steps into a pretty huge role here. But I'm primarily focused on Maxey in this one.
Let me ask you this general kind of strategy question, Bales or Keith. We are 2 weeks into the season. At some point, you have to start weighing some stock into what's actually happening this year and what has changed, and how everyone does that, as an analyst or as a bettor or a DFS player is different. And that's why the peer-to-peer games we play is so incredible. Like, for example, you mentioned the Maxey assist thing. We hit that a lot last year and it worked out a lot. Different kind of offense this year, a lot of passes, a lot of touches. Maybe things have changed. Pace, like Orlando is playing a lot faster than last year. So I guess Bales and or Keith, when do you start, in terms of small sample sizes, when do you start actually weighing in, wow, like the Magic are playing faster than this year. This is a real thing that's happening. Like, what do you need to see and how much of it before you start kind of taking some shots on some things, Bales?
Right around 10 games, I think, is maybe. I think you can go a little less, but throw some hesitancy on it. I think right around 10 games is you get certain stuff where, like, The Orlando thing, I was a little bit weary at first because of the matchups that they got. Their opponents early on like to play fast. Like there are certain teams who will play to their opponents. And then like you just get lucky that the first 4 games are against fast-paced teams. And now that team looks super fast-paced. Obviously they bump back to a slow pace and, they're back in the middle then. I think right around 10 games, I would like more. But you kind of have to put your foot down, I guess, at some point and just be like, this is kind of what I'm going with. And you have to do it. Like there's only 82 games in a season. You can't wait for 40 games to happen before you start to take notice of how certain guys or certain teams are running. So I think right around the 10 game mark is pretty much where I would be like, yeah, I think we can kind of, I don't want to say trust, but put a little more stock into this season versus previous seasons.
Yeah, Keith, you want to piggyback on that at all?
Yeah, I do. I tend to be a little bit more aggressive with it just because I think that's where we can find our biggest edges in NBA. So we certainly always prefer a larger sample. But in situations where there's coach speak around it, especially like the Magic, Mosley talked about it several times in the offseason that they need to play faster. Miami is another team that's playing significantly fast. I believe they're first in pace in the entire league this season after being like bottom 10 for the last 15 years. Spoelstra has been saying for a couple of years now that Miami needs to play faster. Didn't see it over the last 2 or 3. Now we're finally seeing it. So anytime we get a situation like that where there's coach speak around it, which is kind of creating the fire, and then we start to see it on the court as well, I'm willing to buy in even sooner than 10 games, I would say. So Orlando has been a team that I've been attacking with props with their opponents just because of that uptick in pace. Miami is another team that I've had my eye on closely because it's like anytime you see that type of shift, the projection, the line at the book is just, it's going to be off. Like NBA is so dependent on that pace of play and the rates that everyone sees in the minutes that they see them. Like the formula for NBA is pretty simple. And if you can figure it out before the books can, you can get serious edge on these lines for sure.
Yeah, and I kind of feel the same way about baseball season. I love those early K props in April, right? And there's a lot of manager speak, if you will, and some other things. And I like the volatile data. That being said, we might see Darius Garland. I don't know if there's any confirmation of that yet. Either way, I'm not saying the Sixers need Paul George because I'm over Paul George. But if there's anything he could bring to the table, it's the perfect length and size as a wing defender because Philly's been getting torched defensively. As fun as the offense has been, I mean, just monster numbers from 2s and 3s, wing players, and this goes dating back to like 2 years now. But I see Donovan Mitchell on the other side of that game. And I have to wonder if I'm interested in his props. I mean, my gut says yes. I'm unbiased here, and I don't have any hard data in front of me. But either one of you, talk to me about the Cleveland side here. Any interest in anything? And then we'll move forward.
Donovan Mitchell's the guy that sticks out immediately. I think he's solid, depending on who plays. I think, and man, this feels very weird saying. I think there might be some value on Sam Merrill. Dude is a very, very good spot up shooter. I think that type of person, when you have someone like Donovan Mitchell that can take so much attention from the defense, I think that someone like Merrill can kind of, I don't want to say go off because like I don't know. I don't do like a 15-point performance feels like going off to me. But for Sam Merrill, that's completely fine. I actually think in like this type of game, I understand the Mitchell and the Maxey, and it's a really good game environment, I think, anyway. So those two players I have no problem with whatsoever. But I actually think that it's the lesser guys that are kind of going overlooked here. Andre Drummond is averaging like slightly over 10 rebound chances in like 14 minutes per game or something. Like it's so ridiculous, and he's going to get 20 to 25 minutes tonight. Trendon Watford is set at 15.5 points, rebounds, and assists. I don't know. Like Cleveland has just been getting absolutely torched by power forwards throughout the season. I think that Watford's really nice. I think he just got like slightly under 25 minutes the other night, and he dropped like almost 40 fantasy points or something. Like I feel like the Maxey Mitchell type thing is a situation where I don't necessarily want to say young at this point for Mitchell, but they're the two types of players that you could see them trade like 10 threes back and forth, where they just keep going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But I also think that because they get so much usage, that the other guys like Watford, like even Sam Merrill, someone like that, they kind of go a little bit under the radar. And Watford really sticks out at 15.5 points, rebounds, and assists for me. But I know that's not the Cleveland side, but I did want to just quick throw that in before Keith jumps on Cleveland here.
Oh, I love that. The Watford thing, and I don't have the touches numbers in front of me, but he's running some point forward stuff for Philly while they're healthy. So the ball's been in his hands, and I'm trying to find ownership for DFS purposes. I can't imagine people are flocking to him with Drummond and Bona still in the mix. I will say, as much of a delight as Bona's been, he is handsy and does get into foul trouble too. So I think there is a path for Watford, for some large field contrarian stuff to be a hidden gem tonight, Keith. Go ahead. Then we'll move on to the next game.
I like that call. Just because they don't seem to want to extend Drummond much past 20 minutes this season. He's not doesn't it feel like Drummond's like 36 years old? He's not. I believe he's like 32, which is like just absolutely shocking to me. But for whatever reason, he's kind of settled into that like 20-minute role, even in games that Embiid has missed. So if Bona gets into foul trouble, then I think Watford could see significantly more minutes. Love that look from Bales. On the Cleveland side, I love Bales' call on Merrill as well. There were games that he was putting up double-digit three-point attempts early in the season. Now, DeAndre Hunter was out, but we do have all these questionable tags on Cleveland again. There's a situation where Merrill gets up 10-plus three-pointers in this spot, and the points number is sitting at 9.5. So I love looking at fringe players like that, especially when we've got questionable tags on the team. If you've seen any of my content today, I attacked a couple of spots like that today. One of them has already worked out with Jake LaRavia potentially stepping into a much larger role with Austin Reeves getting ruled out. We'll talk about Kuminga a little bit later on as well. I think the Warriors are a team that's primed to do some stuff. So whenever you have, especially multiple Q tags like we have on this Cleveland team, taking a look at somebody that might benefit in a situation where a Darius Garland gets ruled out or a DeAndre Hunter gets ruled out, like who's going to see the usage that those players are vacating. Sam Merrill is a prime target for that, and especially when it's a number so low as like 9.5 points. So super sharp look by Bales in that spot. It's a number that he can hit even if everybody plays. He could hit 3 or 4 threes and fly over 9.5 points anyway if everyone's healthy. You start getting guys like Garland ruled out, and that 9.5 number is just going to look silly.
Before we move on, if Garland is in, is there anybody you're out on for DFS builds, Keith?
I wouldn't say I'm completely out on anybody. You can't play Garland, I don't think. He's going to be on a pretty heavy minutes restriction.
Agreed.
So like you just have to be out on that until you see the minutes from him. I think Hunter can still get there, even alongside Garland. Really like the role that we've seen from him this season. He settled into this team so beautifully last season. So even though Hunter hasn't seen a ton of court time this season, I think you can still go there. Doesn't impact Mitchell or Mobley for me hardly at all. I think you can definitely go right back there.
Yeah, I'm seeing really low ownership on Donovan Mitchell, and I know there's a big blowout risk here, but if the Sixers can keep this thing fairly competitive, and maybe Garland being back will definitely deter people, from clicking the Mitchell button. But, I'm at least seeing some really low ownership stuff here on FanDuel for Mitchell. And like I said, the Sixers it's a track meet every game, and they're giving up a ton of points to wings. So I think Spider might kill Philly tonight. Our guy JG in the chat. What's up? Good to see Grande Fantasy Alarm. Bunch of good dudes over there. Appreciate you, JG. The whole Cleveland side, he says, can't argue with that. I thought you were in here just to victory lap your Bulls against my Sixers last night. Just terrible. Anyway, let's move on to the next game here. Utah and Detroit, and pretty brutal news for the Jazz. As if things weren't brutal enough as being a Jazz fan. Walker Kessler, one of the real bright spots over the past year and a half, confirmed out for the season earlier today. So that sucks. Anyway, I felt like they've been dangling Markkanen at the deadline for the past 2 years, and I really thought he'd be wearing a different uniform by now. but he's not. So he's a thing. But as Justin Bale said to me earlier today, it's Yusuf Nurkic season, potentially, in Utah. So any general thoughts on this one, Bales?
Yeah, I mean, specifically for DFS, like Nurkic's price is pretty ridiculous. He's going to see the uptick in minutes. We obviously have a little sample with him without Kessler, and he looks good. I think that the price tag's a little bit too low. If there's, I don't love kind of what's happening in Utah. I mean, like the team's fine. I don't really have any major issues with and stuff, but they're like the rotations are so weird. And like, can we just consistently give Bryce Sensabaugh 35 minutes a night and just watch what he does? That's what I want. But no, like if I'm playing anything with them, not in terms of DFS, obviously that's Nurkic. It's just marketing. He's like the entire offense, and he's legitimately just a really good scorer. It's not like you're giving 25 shots a game to like someone who doesn't deserve it. Markkanen's now pretty much proven that with those shots, he's gonna score extremely well. I also think that they're probably showcasing him at some point in time. He's getting traded. I don't know when. It's been multiple years of that, but at some point he's gone, and you might as well let him average 30, 35 a game until that happens, because you're just raising his value. So yeah, I think it's pretty simple. I don't love Utah tonight. I think that there's better spots on the Detroit side. But if you go anything, it's obviously Nurkic for the price tag in DFS. And like, I guess you just like take the shot that Markkanen is going to go off again and drop, a 30 plus. I don't really know what his point total set at, because I don't think it's that great of a spot for him. But like, if you are choosing something, I don't think you really go away from him.
Yeah, 5,300 on DK for Nurkic, who accidentally got important at work again, as the kids say. So he'll have a substantial role. Keith, talk about this game. If anything on the Pistons side, obviously, Cade Cunningham in a game where there's a 120 plus total against a Utah team who hasn't played defense since Karl Malone was there is quite interesting.
They've been a little better defensively this season, but yeah, definitely still an attackable matchup. So I like the Detroit side. On the Utah side, real quick, it's so tough with how they run their rotation. They go so deep. Like they'll play 10 to 12 guys every night. Sensabaugh will play 22 minutes one night and 4 the next night. Isaiah Collier will be active for the game and not play at all. Like it's just wild what goes on with that rotation in Utah. One of the more difficult rotations to figure out in the entire league. Markkanen is certainly the guy that is secure. I would add Keontae George into that category as well this season. Has played awesome while Collier has been out to begin the season. And it feels like he's just kind of grabbed that role and isn't going to be giving it up. They have Clayton now there as well. So that's, I think, why they've been so slow to get Collier back involved. But Keontae George has played incredible. Maybe not the spot for the DFS with the rising price tag and Collier theoretically active and potentially a threat. But I don't mind taking a shot on some props there for George. Looking at the points right now, sitting at 19.5 points. Assists would be something I'd be fine. He's been much more involved as a facilitator this season than he was last. 6.5 is the assist number. So I don't mind some Keontae George props. On the Detroit side, it's always Cade Cunningham first and foremost. Saw a massive leap forward from Cade last season. The triple double upside is certainly real. So I'd probably just take a look at his PRA on the Cade Cunningham stuff. And then Tobias Harris is out again, which makes Isaiah Stewart extremely interesting. Saw him play over 30 minutes last game with Harris sideline. And Beef Stew is a guy that can put up points in a hurry when he is out there. He doesn't even need the 30 minutes to be able to smash some of these stats that are posted for him. If he's going to see 30 minutes in this spot, I mean, it's hard not to love some Beef Stew overs here.
I'm blindly guessing that 59 DK number is a career high for him. What a monster freaking game Stewart had his last time out. And Detroit's been good defensively this year. Top 5 in the league in defensive efficiency are the Pistons. That being said, Keontae George, I mean, he's, like you said, the price boost, kind of incorporating some other guys in now. He's gone over a 30% usage rate in 3 of his last 6 games. I still think he'll give you a pretty high floor because of his role. it's just a little bit brutal of a matchup against Detroit. It's looking like. Anything else in this game, guys, or should we keep moving on?
I just want to say, well, I initially wanted Oscar Thompson. It's tough to do that with Isaiah Stewart on the court. Like, he's just going to do so much and take so much. Like, this is a really good matchup for Thompson. And I see a situation where he drops a very, very good game. The other guy that I wish they had props up for, there's none up. I would assume that he would be set right around like 8.5 points, is Ron Holland. And if I saw that, I would take it. Anything under 10, and I would take Holland. I know the minutes aren't going to be super crazy or whatnot, but I see him going for 10 plus points tonight. And yeah, that's the only thing that I'd really add for Detroit there.
I like Ron Holland. I punted him a lot last year toward the end of the year, and I think he's one of those guys that's going to kind of discreetly keep getting better and just kind of end up on the radar at some point over the next year and a half or so. Let's move on. If you guys are cool with that, we'll go to Indy and Brooklyn, and this is just a brutal game. Of course, the Pacers have been decimated pretty much all season, and as you can see, all of the red tags on my screen here. Isaiah Jackson finally figured out how to stay on the court and not foul everybody. And last game against Milwaukee, he's 4,300. A lot to decipher here on the Indy side. On the Brooklyn side, I mean, it's just like the newest rendition of the NBA's G League team and Cam Thomas and Michael Porter. Like, what a clown show. It's like, let's just put Michael Porter and Cam Thomas together, two guys who have never seen a shot they didn't like, and just play the most like Rucker Park hero ball. And imagine, like, the guy you hate playing with at the YMCA. Let's put them together. I mean, for them, maybe they don't even care. They get any shot they want. All the team needs is Dylan Brooks, and there'd be 30 shots apiece a game between the three of them. I don't know. Anyway, Indy's been a mess, and they've been tough to kind of deal with, this season. I feel for them. The finals was so good last year, and I loved watching that Pacers team as a basketball fan. And obviously, things haven't been so good this year. But Keith, talk to me about the Pacers tonight.
Yeah, the Pacers look really good, and it's because those guys that you mentioned for Brooklyn, what they don't do is play defense. Dead last in the NBA in defensive rating. They've allowed the most points, the most assists, and the fifth most rebounds in the entire league. So this is a prime spot for these Indiana guys. It's hard to figure out what's going to happen beyond Pascal Siakam. I think we know for sure that Pascal Siakam is going to be massively involved. Took his PRA at 39.5 points, rebounds, assists today. He's doing everything for this team. Brooklyn doesn't rebound. They don't play defense. It's a smash spot for Pascal Siakam. I want to go beyond that and get a little deeper into this roster as well. It gets tough with as many injuries as they are dealing with. We're not only down like the first level, like we knew Halliburton was out. McConnell was injured in the preseason. So then it was Nembhard and Mathurin season. Well, now both of them are out as well. So we've been seeing this like hodgepodge of guards rotating throughout the rotation. Quentin Jackson stepped up for a little bit. Now he's out as well. So we're like 3 levels deep on this injury situation here in the backcourt for Indiana. Presumably, it's Ray J. Dennis who's going to step back in. He's also on the injury report, so keep an eye on that. But we have seen him play fairly well when he's been given opportunities. He should see upper 20s minutes at least here. Ben Shepherd likely draws the start. You certainly cannot do anything with that guy. Just one of the lowest usage players in all of the league. So if Shepherd is in there starting and we see Dennis off the bench, I think his props are going to be undervalued, assuming he is active, that is. The other guy I really have my eye on is Aaron Nesmith, who he's not shot the ball well this season, but we just ran down the list of injuries of how many people are out for this Indiana team that were regular rotation members of a very good team last season. Siakam is certainly one, and Nesmith is really the only other guy that was a significant part of their playoff run last season. I expect him to play better. The usage has started to tick up in the last 2 games. He's over 25% the last two nights. He's getting up shots. 16.5, I believe, is what I took his points at earlier today. Just checking that number is still out there. Looks like it's actually moved to 17.5 now. But I think this is a spot where he could put up 20 points pretty easily. With 25% usage locked in for 30 minutes, Nesmith looks great to me in this spot. I think we might have lost Luch's audio there. I'm not sure what's going on.
Here we go. Carry on, Bills. Give me something here.
No, I actually think that I don't think I could do that better. I mean, Brooklyn struggles against like 3 very specific things. 1, point guards can assist the ball. Ray J. Dennis assists. 2, shooting guards can score. Aaron Nesmith's going to play a lot of minutes at the 2. 3, power forwards dominate them. Pascal Siakam is going to the points, rebounds, and assists. I mean, Keith, with potentially the sharpest read that I've seen on a team ever, I don't think that there's anything to add on the other side. I mean, like Cam Thomas, I guess, sure. Or Indiana does struggle against power forwards, and that's kind of like, Siakam's got so much of an offensive load that it's hard to play that hard on both ends of the floor. And, you guys already talked about it. Michael Porter Jr. is a shot chucker whenever he wants to be. So, if you want to take the chance on like Cam Thomas or Michael Porter Jr. just throwing up shots, this game's going to score points. If it does, those two are probably going to score a lot. I think I slightly prefer Porter, but both are fine. I think that I'm more into the indie side of things here, but I think that either side's fine. It's just a really good game overall.
It looks like a lot of those Pacers are catching rightful ownership against a terrible defense and all guys who should have sizable roles in a competitive game too, according to Vegas. And on the other side, looks like Cam Thomas is the one currently catching a little ownership compared to Michael Porter Jr. So don't hate Michael Porter Jr. for large field stuff if he is going to be like sub 10%. I mean, if he gets hot and if he touches the ball, it's going up. Shot chucker. 2 shot chuckers, 1 offense. It's the price of admission couldn't be higher at the Barclays Center. Anything else, fellas, or should we move on?
I think we're good.
Yep.
Cool. All right, we got the Celtics and the Wizards. We have a 122 projected team total for Boston. Sizable favorites here. Derek White's up to 7,500 on DK. He's been miserable from the floor, like really miserable. I mean, look at that game.
Really bad.
Just terrible. At some point, there's got to be some positive regression here. I think, the price is tough, but he needs to be that 1B option this year. No longer can he pick on the opposing team's 4th or 5th best defender and just kind of get away with murder. Eventually, the shots are going to keep falling, though. Pretty good get-right spot against the Wizards. Coming in pretty low owned in the DFS world. What's your read on the Celtics-Wizards game here, Keith?
Yeah, Derek White is really interesting because when the shots do start falling, he's going to absolutely smash that DFS price tag. And what better matchup to do it in than the Wizards, who we've targeted with extreme frequency over the past couple of years. They play among the fastest teams in the NBA, and they play among the worst defense in the NBA. It's exactly what you're looking for in a DFS matchup. So Derek White at low ownership, what the price tag's around 7K, I think, 7,500. Like he can go for 40 DK points like that. That's certainly within his range of outcomes. He's almost doing that, even though he's shooting like 30% from the floor. So I love Derek White as a low owned play. Because we haven't seen the shots fall yet, I'm off his props for now until we see it, and then I'd be willing to jump right back in. The guy I am on for Boston is Jaylen Brown because he is not struggling. He's making a ton of shots. He's shooting a ton of shots. Usage is over 33% for Jaylen Brown, and I just talked about this matchup against Washington, who plays fast and doesn't play defense. Jaylen Brown is sitting at 24.5 points. He's already gone over 30 points 3 times this season. I think this is another spot where Jaylen Brown's putting up 30 points. So love Jaylen Brown over 24.5 points. Wrote that one up today as well.
His usage is pushing 40% in the last 2 games. I mean, that's big time. And, he knows his teammate Derek White's struggling a little bit. So I think he feels like there's, more incentive to kind of put shots up himself. Derek White's points prop on Underdog is 18.5 now, which is below what they were listing him to start the year. I think he was around 19.5, and then he had one good game, I think, against Philly. Everyone kills the Sixers, and he was up to like 20 or 21.5 for points. And so you're getting a little bit of a discount on Derek White if you kind of like the get right spot here. All right, Bells, Boston and the Wizards. Give me your take on this one.
My take is I absolutely hate this game. outside of like large field GPPs, I do think that you're making smart calls on like Jaylen Brown. He can drop 40 in this matchup easily. Derek White, he can drop 50 fantasy points. I don't have any issues with that type of thing. My issues are essentially two here. One, the spread's 12.5. The NBA is already on a 2.5 spread, just blowout after blowout after blowout. Very real chance that the top guys for Boston are not playing late in this game. Granted, the blowout happens because of them generally, but you still need the excess time and whatnot, especially if your guy is not the guy scoring that early. And two, Washington is atrocious against bigs. Like they're so bad against both power forwards and centers. And Boston is just a team that is all guards. Everyone that you want anything to do with is basically a guard. And then obviously you have Jaylen Brown, thrown in the three there. So there's just, I don't know. I think you're 100% right that like Washington can't guard Jaylen Brown. Washington's not going to stop Derek White necessarily if it's his turn to go off. Even like Peyton Pritchard, he can drop 25 plus here. Like all of that can happen. But when we're looking at basically like what are we predicting to happen, it's like I can't feel good about any of them, especially knowing that the bigs can do so well. So even bad bigs can contribute to that type of blowout. And then you have even less from the main focal point guys. So I don't know. I don't like this game very much. I think you're actually on him right now. I think Star is completely fine if you want to go like that route. George has been playing well, but I don't know. I don't even really like much of Washington here either. I'm just kind of most likely just going to avoid this.
I think that's where I struggle with DFS is the Washington side. I think Star is a really sharp call. Keyshawn George has played awesome this season, but now Koulibaly is back, so I'm a little bit hesitant on the ceiling there. But Sar against this Boston front court that there's nobody left from what they had last season with Horford moving on, Porzingis moving on. They're running Keita out there, and then there's really no one else in the Boston front court. Luka Garza is getting like serious minutes as the backup center. So I think the Sar call as the run back in DFS is super sharp because no doubt about it, blowout is a concern. But as long as the game is within that spread of 12.5, like Brown's going to be out there at least until the final 2 minutes or so. So I'm not as concerned about blowout. I think for DFS, it's often a sharp way to get leverage on the field, and that the ownership comes in lower than expected because everybody sees the big spread, and then the game plays to 12 or 14 points, and Brown sees 34 minutes in this spot. I kind of just ignore the blowout angle on most DFS nights. And then even for the props, like it's such a smash spot for Brown. Like I think he could get 24.5 points in 3 quarters, even if he only plays. If it's a 20-point game going into the fourth quarter and he misses his last rotation, I think he could already be sitting at 26, 27 points. So I certainly hear what Bales is putting down there with the blowout, but I mostly ignore it or try to find a way to find an edge in that. So a run back in DFS is a great idea. And that theory is just basically stating Washington's pushing back. If Sar is racking up blocks or something, maybe Boston's not pulling away. If he's racking up points and boards, maybe Washington is able to keep up with Boston. So the run back is super sharp in DFS.
Yeah, last year Pritchard was in that role on the team because they had so many more credible bodies that Peyton Pritchard was often running until the 4-minute mark in the fourth quarter, even in blowouts. He's not quite in that role this year because they need him more than they did last year. Obviously, without Tatum and Porzingis is gone and Horford's not on the team. But in that Houston game where they got massacred a couple days ago, he was the only starter to play the entire third quarter. Like all the other starters played no more than a handful of minutes in that third quarter. So I do feel like unless it's a 30-point game, maybe it's like 15 or 16, they still might let Pritchard run a little bit in the fourth quarter just to kind of captain the second unit a little bit and make sure everything's kind of, status quo. And then they'll pull him out maybe like, half.
Also, Boston is 3-5. Like if they have plans for contending, they need to start winning some games. This is a game they should certainly win. So like when are they going to pull starters? Yeah, I like that call a lot. Like Pritchard, a guy who might play pretty deep, even if it's a 20-point game, you might see Pritchard out there. I like that call.
Yeah. Grande giving you kudos about ignoring blowouts. The world is healing, he says. Wouldn't push it that far, but like to see the stamp of approval there for sure. Just for time purposes, we're just going to cover the 8-game slate on DraftKings. There is 3 late games that's on FanDuel. We're also talking props and sports betting here. Some of the big injury news that has broken recently: Zach LaVine is out. Sabonis is out. Thunder news: Chet Holmgren out. Lou Dort and Caruso both out as well. Some earlier news from earlier in the day: Minnesota's optimistic that Anthony Edwards is going to play. Steph Curry is all but out tonight on the second leg of a back-to-back. We don't know Jimmy Butler. Cat is questionable. I believe that's a big one. And guys, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong here. Draymond is also questionable. Austin Reeves out. That is a gigantic one for the late slate bettors and DFSers. Darius Garland, not sure if we're going to see him yet. Jarrett Allen has a questionable tag as well for the Cavs. Jabari Smith, also questionable. Jordan Poole, questionable. And we'll get to the Pelicans because that's a low-key big one for DFS purposes if Poole doesn't sit tonight. Mr. Sohan or Socan, however you choose to pronounce it. And don't lie, I know you say it both ways. He's also questionable. Sam Merrill, questionable. Steven Adams, questionable. I think I hit on a lot of them. Did I miss any big ones, guys? Or you got anything to kind of piggyback off of all those beautiful designations?
I think you hit most of them, no? I mean, well, I guess, like, the only thing you can add is, like, San Antonio has, like, 5 guys questionable. Most of them aren't, like, big minutes guys, but, when you're in a situation where you can add, like, 3 minutes to someone's total, it's meaningful sometimes, But, no, outside of that, I think that you nailed pretty much most of the injury.
Cool. Let's move on here. The Knicks and Timberwolves, and tough to project Anthony Edwards. And Keith, I know you're heavily in the projection streets. So, like, let's hypothetically say Anthony Edwards plays tonight. How do you even put a pulse on what to project his minutes for?
I mean, he's missed 4 games. So like that's right about the mark that conditioning starts to become a concern. I think you project him mostly full if he's able to make it back today. Like, so if he's averaging 36 minutes a night, maybe you dock him a minute or two, 35, 34 minutes. But like, he's a guy that they're just not going to take chances with. If he was truly still like banged up to the point where he needed to be limited to 25 minutes, I don't think that he would be out there at all. So I think he's mostly full in this spot if he is active, is kind of the way that I handle it usually.
Yeah, we have Cat questionable on the other side. These were two of the better defensive teams in terms of 2024 stats. So a lot of moving parts here. Julius Randle revenge game, if you're into that kind of thing, I suppose. I'll throw it over to you, Bells. What's just kind of your takeaway from this one? And if Anthony Edwards is out, we have seen Naz Reid with the highest usage bump so far this season. Obviously not a big sample size. I mean, he was so freaking good last year.
No minutes, though. They haven't extended his minutes with this recent injury. So,
Yep. I mean, no more than 27 minutes in any game this year. He's only played more than 25 once. So he's just so tough to play. But yeah, we'll throw it over to you, Bells. Talk to me about this game here. Some moving parts we got.
Yeah. Truthfully, I don't like that much. I think it's going to be a more defensive game. But one thing very clearly sticks out to me. That's Jalen Brunson. We've had Minnesota struggle against point guards, specifically scoring point guards this season. Jalen Brunson, obviously, very, very good scorer, especially if Towns is out. Then it just kind of bumps him a little bit more. On the other side, call me crazy, but like Anthony Edwards feels like the kind of guy that really wants to play well at the Garden. Doesn't he just come off as like that type of guy? I'm not 100% into narratives. I don't think like you have to play him based on that alone, but I do think that he probably plays full minutes because you aren't messing around with him. Like if he weren't fully healthy, you just wouldn't bring him back at this point because like these games aren't meaningless, but you want him at the end of the season, not the beginning of the season. So I think that if he is out, I don't love Minnesota's offense. I think Jaden McDaniels gets the bump. Jaden McDaniels has been like one of the most surprising things is that even since last year, when Anthony Edwards doesn't play, Jaden McDaniels is a guy that just takes over games. Like it's so weird, but I do like him. I think that he would be a solid option, assuming Edwards doesn't play. If Edwards is back, McDaniels goes back to his defensive role. He isn't really nearly as involved in the offense. So overall, Jalen Brunson. I think Jalen Brunson points is kind of what you're looking at here.
I'm just going to run this by you, Keith, and then I'll let you go, and then we'll move on. But the thing that worries me about Julius Randle and McDaniels is how efficient and how well they've been shooting from the floor. That scares me a little. And DiVincenzo's been great too. I don't love the price for him though. If Edwards sits, I still don't love the 66 tag on DK. I mean, I know he's coming off a really nice game, but look who that was against. Brooklyn, by far the worst defensive team in the league right now. So those are just kind of my quick hitters about this one. What do you got for us?
So I'm not concerned about Randall. We've seen him be efficient in his career in the past. The Knicks days, he was leading an offense there for New York for a while. So because we've seen that type of role from Randall in the past, I'm completely comfortable with what he's doing. I'd be fine going back there. The McDaniels thing is a little bit harder to get behind just because he's mostly a low usage role player, a defensive 3-and-D guy, if you will. And now he's kind of stepping into a new role where he's picking up 25% usage some of these nights that Edwards has been out. I'm a little bit more hesitant there, but it's hard to deny the role that we've seen for McDaniels. We know the minutes are going to be there. He's going to be out there for his defense, if nothing else. So I'm mostly okay with what we've seen from Minnesota. The surprising thing from Minnesota is they've not been good defensively this season. So I'm actually on these Knicks guys a little bit. You both mentioned narratives, and neither one of you mentioned Karl Anthony Towns playing the team that he played for 8 or 9 seasons, whatever it was. He has one career game against them, and he absolutely smashed them for 36 points and 20 rebounds. Maybe he got it out of his system and he's not as vengeful anymore. But if we're talking narratives, Karl Anthony Towns would be my favorite. Unfortunately, he did get that midday downgrade, so a little bit more risk. It was one of my favorite props early in the day, 36.5 PRA, I believe he was at. Towns has shot the ball poorly this season, and he's still averaging 36.5 PRA per game. The rebounds are up at the same elite level that we saw him take the jump to last season. He's going to get you about 3 assists a game as well. So I think the rebounds and assists are locked in. And then I think there's massive room up. He's averaging around 22 points, I think 21, 22 points. But he is shooting like 40% from the field when he's well over 50% from the field in his career. So I think there's a points boost coming for Karl Anthony Towns. Minnesota has struggled a little bit defensively this season. I can't pinpoint why that is that Minnesota, maybe it's just Rudy Gobert has gotten old and isn't quite the rim protector that he was. Maybe it's the absence of Anthony Edwards. Hard to pinpoint exactly what Minnesota's struggles have been defensively, but they're down at like 22nd in defensive rating so far. So on paper, a tough defensive matchup, but like Brunson and Towns are the guys that can just smash in any matchup anyway. Then if you want to go even deeper, you do have the narrative stuff as well.
Real quick. Oh, sorry. Just real quick, just to defend McDaniels, because I am a McDaniels guy.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
The efficiency comes from the shot chart. I think personally, when you look at it, he's averaging 4 field goal attempts per game at the rim. Those are obviously high percentage shots. 4 more per game in the paint, which is the next. He doesn't shoot many mid range, which is kind of where more variance comes in. And 50% of his threes are coming from the corner, which obviously are the spot up open looks that guys are hitting at the highest rate. So don't get me wrong. I understand the concern with, Jaden McDaniels' efficiency because it is very high right now. I just also think that, to be fair, it's very, very similar. If you look at basically where the numbers come from, it's very similar to Julius Randle, the type of shots that he's taking as well. I think Randall shoots more from above the break, a little bit more than Jaden McDaniels does, but also I think that comes more or less with Randall just having a bigger role. But yeah, I think the efficiency can continue. I don't know if I don't know if that's a hot take, but I do think that McDaniels is a very good offensive player that isn't used offensively because he's not as good as Edwards and Randall and whatnot.
No, I think that's fair. And that being said, Randall is coming in at basically no ownership in the DFS street. So, as much as I am worried about his efficiency, I see a next to no ownership there and a guy who's been playing great. And I'm interested in that regard. I know it's early and Anthony Edwards' absence has definitely helped him, but he's taking almost 3 more shots per game. He's taking, almost a full more 3-pointer per game. He's shooting two more foul shots per game. Just a bigger point scoring burden on him than we saw last year, at least right now. So if Anthony Edwards is out, I'm interested in Randall for DFS. And I know we might go over our hour here, and I apologize. So we'll move on to the next game. And if either of you have to leave, I think I could figure out how to BS by myself for a little bit. But we will move on here to Houston and Memphis. And boy, I mean, the Grizzlies, it's just a lot of craziness. They're in a weird spot. They were in a weird spot coming into the season, obviously getting rid of Desmond Bane. And then the Ja stuff. I mean, he lost his joy. Poor Ja. I don't even know what to say. This feels like it's going to be a situation to monitor right up until February. And we will see what happens because, I'm willing to bet there are a lot of people in that front office that are just sick of his shenanigans. And he's such an elite talent. So really sad here, but we don't care about long-term stuff. We care about right now. So Keith, what's your take on the Memphis and Houston game? Anything specific you're interested in?
Ja is going to be Ja. We know that, right? Like, it's just, I just can't, this guy just needs to get out of his own way because like you said, the talent is special. I thought with Bane moving on, he was going to absolutely go back to just go nuclear this season. I thought he was set up to really take a massive step forward. And now he's just whining all the time, getting under the coach's skin and really falling out of favor with the organization. So I don't know what to do with the Memphis side. It's a tough matchup here. I think I'm mostly just staying away against Houston. And then on the Houston side, it's pretty ugly as well. I do think the one interesting thing is the Jabari Smith questionable tag. Tari Eason is a huge per minutes fantasy producer. If Jabari Smith gets rolled out, you certainly have to take a look at some Tari Eason stuff.
Oh, definitely. That's a great call. Tari Eason, we saw him pop time after time last year when there were some missing bodies for Houston. I still like him even with Kevin Durant in town. In Memphis, they are playing fast. They're the 6th fastest team in the league, and they're not playing any defense. So as kind of cluttered as it is on the Houston side, there could be some GPP targets over there. That being said, in terms of betting or DFS, Bales, give me your take on this one.
Yeah, dude, I don't know what you can do with Memphis at the moment. I mean, I will say, I don't know if this is all Ja's fault. If you look at his stuff, like, dude, they were playing him like the weirdest rotations and like minutes in the 20s to start the season, like just so stupid.
I completely understand his frustration. Sorry not to cut you off, but I just want to reiterate that point because you're spot on with that. Like they're playing 11, 12 guys. They're doing Jazz type stuff with their rotation. This is like should be a Western Conference playoff contender, like championship contender with a talent like Ja. Triple J is a nice piece there, a secondary piece. Like they should be leaning into that. And I don't know. I can't figure it out either. So I'm with you that I think Ja has some justifiable reasons. Sorry, back to you.
No, the other thing is he's a star. Like when you look at Utah, okay, you can make a case that like Markkanen is becoming a star maybe or something. Like there's people that like him, there's people that don't. Ja's a star. He's one of the best in the NBA. Like he's not the guy you take off the floor. And on top of it, I don't know, for him to say something to the media, it feels like the coach may have said something out of pocket himself in the locker room. And I don't think that going to the media is the way to do it. But I'm just saying it seems a little justified here. In terms of like betting, I mean, I right now I can't really take anything on Memphis. They do struggle really bad against point guards and I guess shooting guards as well. And I think for that reason, you can essentially put in one. Amen Thompson's interesting. I don't know fully, honestly, how much I trust him specifically on this type of team. But he is interesting. And then I think that you nailed it with Terry Eason. I actually even think that if Jabari Smith plays, Eason's completely fine. I think his points right now are set at like 12.5. Like it's just super low, which leads me to believe that Smith probably plays in this game. But then, I think it's a reasonable price at 12.5. And then if Smith's ruled out, like that's way too low at that point.
That's like my favorite thing to do in betting. And I did this on, I think it was Monday, whenever the Rockets were last on the schedule, Jabari Smith was questionable. I wrote up Tari Eason's points early in the day before we knew, just because he can hit that number, even if Jabari Smith plays. Like the number is set for Jabari Smith playing. Jabari Smith gets ruled out, and all of a sudden the points line is 2 to 4 points too low. Like it's a smash. I did it with LaRavia already today. I've mentioned Kuminga as well. Like just my favorite angle to play in NBA player props.
I'll never hate Şengün. So if this thing somehow stays moderately close, and I'm not sure who my run back would be, but you don't want to talk about high floor and
Howard.
Yeah, and well, the thing about Şengün is there's no minutes problem here. They babied his minutes last year. Now the training wheels are off, and that's what I love. And going back to the Memphis thing, I know they dealt with numerous injuries between all their star players and even their role players. They were gutted the last couple of years, but they did the same crap with Bane and Jaren Jackson. We were begging for them as bettors and DFS players to give those 3 stars more than like 30. It took till like after the new year last season for them to start playing them like 32 minutes a game. Bane obviously had the most run. I'm more geared towards Ja and Triple J in this scenario. And that being said, I love the fit for Bane on Orlando. Orlando, once they figure it out, is going to be a tough out between the 3 main guys they have there in the supporting cast. But yeah, that being said, Ja lost his joy, and I was kind of taking some shots there. But there could be some coaching malpractice there as well with just the way they've handled, the wealth of talent that they've had the last couple of years. Anything else, fellas, or are we moving on?
Moving on.
All right, we got 2 games left, and we have New Orleans and Dallas. Zion is out. Messi is out again. Jordan Poole questionable. That's a big one here. We saw Mr. Queen go off last night. Love that. I multi-entered. I had a couple of shares. Unfortunately, didn't land on the right team. Even without the 4 steals, he was great. But anytime you luck box your way into 4 steals at an unknown guy, you have to feel pretty good about it. That being said, Kevon Looney was not good last night, but he is damn near the stone minimum. And we've seen what he has done in Golden State in the past. And your boy Carlo had some burn last night here. So do you have a read on the big man situation here, Keith? And then also, if Jordan Poole is out, what does that mean? Do you go back to Jeremiah Fears, who had a dud, didn't play a lot, but we saw some really big usage out of him the previous couple of games?
Yeah, lots to unpack here. The big man situation, I have a read on what should happen, but I don't know that I can confidently say that it will happen. You spend a lottery pick on Derek Queen after trading up to get him, and you're going to run out guys like Kevon Looney and Carlo Matkovic, and like it doesn't make sense. Just play Derek Queen 25 minutes at least, please. Like that is what they need to do here. He's clearly the future. They paid a hefty price to bring him into the organization. They clearly love him. I'm not sure why they've yet to fully unleash him. We've seen him pop a couple of times without Zion, so I don't know. The only problem is we don't know if he can play over 20 minutes, and I don't want to bank on that extreme efficiency. If I felt good about him playing 24 to 26 minutes, I would be all in on Derek Queen overs, and you take that to the bank. Unfortunately, I think you do have to pump the brakes a little bit just because they have not shown the willingness to extend him beyond 20 minutes much this season. Good player, perfect environment for him to kind of take that step into to being a serious rotation player with Messi and Zion out. There should be room for Queen to step into a massive role here. Hard to trust it, though. As far as the Pool stuff, I already like Trey Murphy. The usage rate without Zion alone is massive. If we take Poole off the court as well, who's also a massive usage player, Trey Murphy should get up 20-plus shots in the spot. So Trey Murphy points would be my first look. Fears has been a high usage player as well. I'm not sure what happened, why he got benched in the game last night. And I don't think he played after like 3 minutes into the second half. Everybody thought he was going to see a massive role. So weird stuff going on with this Pelicans rotation. I do think the guy that's overlooked oftentimes in these spots is Herb Jones, like similar to a Jaden McDaniels type of guy, where he's 3-and-D most of the time when Zion's out there and Poole is out there and the usage guys are out there. Herb Jones doesn't need to be the offensive force. But when you take those big usage guys out, Herb Jones is a very capable offensive player, and I think that he often goes overlooked in these situations. Like, you see the massive usage numbers for guys like Trey Murphy, and those are immediately where you look. But don't sleep on Herb Jones. This is a great spot for him if Poole's rolled out.
Yeah, if you want solidified minutes from someone in this game, it's probably going to be Herb Jones. 36 yesterday? So still a cheap price tag, a guy who can fill it up with stocks as well. Tough stuff here. They went with Old Faithful Jose Alvarado, the Olympian. He played a ton. He played the entire fourth quarter. I don't have a read on this as well, but, like you said, they just kind of gave up on fears about a third of the way through the third quarter and let Alvarado run with it. And, man, Alvarado is so cheap that this team is a nightmare for large field tournaments tonight because you have those three centers, and any one of them could break the slate. And they're probably all going to get minutes in the 15 to 22 range. Don't know who it's going to be between Queen, Looney, Makovich. I'm not sure it even matters who starts. I mean, if Queen starts, I think that would be the biggest indicator of a seismic shift in what the philosophy is going to be tonight.
Agree with that. You'd have to feel really good about 20 minutes if he starts. I agree.
Yeah. Do I think he's going to start? No. Would I be shocked?
Me either.
No. But I do think it's like, all right, if you're building out 100 teams, you kind of want exposure to those three guys because they're so cheap that you might need one of them for large field tournaments. So make sure you're setting your build rules accordingly. And, for me, I'm probably not playing more than one of any of those cheap centers together. The Alvarado thing, I don't know. I'm going to try to dig in on some more coach speak. Like, if his ownership is still down, even after whatever happened with Fears last night, I wouldn't mind taking a couple shots on Jose Alvarado. Not the kind of play I'm talking. If I'm playing one line, if I'm playing higher stakes, I'm not playing Jose Alvarado. But, after the shenanigans we saw last night, I don't mind sprinkling them in if you're playing some low dollar stuff. Bales, help us get through this disaster of a game.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of props specifically, I mean, these are two of quite literally the worst teams in the NBA against centers. Dallas is the worst team in the NBA against centers. New Orleans is, I believe they're also bottom 5. If not, they're at like the 6 to 7 range. Because of that, one, if you can get points, rebounds, and assists on Queen, he's absurdly versatile. Even in the limited minutes, he can go off in that type of situation. 2, we already know that Derek Lively's been ruled out, which is going to lock Daniel Gafford into his relatively solid minutes. I don't think that he's getting, 30-plus minutes, but he's going to play 22 to 25 most likely, and his props are still pretty reasonable, I think. In terms of like DFS, I do think that PJ Washington, even though he's up to 7K, I think that he has the ceiling to absolutely destroy that. And this is the type of game that an athletic big like Washington can go nuts in. And then, I think you guys nailed it on, I don't know what to do with Alvarado, Looney, Queen type deal. Like, I don't want to say it's guaranteed. Obviously, it's not even close to guaranteed, but it's probably a pretty big chance that one of those three ends up on some fairly high ranking teams in DFS. I just don't know which one it is. I mean, if I'm just choosing one, it's got to be Queen. The versatility and specifically his size, he can get stocks. We know that. Like, there's just so much upside. I just agree. Like, if they're not going to give him 25 minutes, the upside is very capped as well.
What about Daniel Gafford? Finally ramped up to 25 minutes in his last game, up from 17. He missed, the first 5 games of the season. We saw him nuke slates last year. When he was getting full run, this guy was a fantasy monster. I'm seeing him around 15 to 17%, at least right now, in tournaments at 4,700. And you kind of said it, Bells. Like, these are two terrible teams in the paint and against centers. I understand that as some ownership going his way. But that being said, you kind of want to get, embrace the unknown and get ahead of the masses. And on a slate like today, I think Gafford, if they give him 27 minutes, 28 minutes, he could absolutely nuke this slate. Gafford might be one of my favorite tournament plays of the night. Keith, am I talking crazy here? Or can you get on board with that?
No, I'm completely on board with that. I absolutely love that call. Be prepared for Daniel Gafford to the locker room. Be prepared for Daniel Gafford 3 fouls in 2 minutes. Like, those things are going to happen. But that's what just the variance that you have to embrace as a tournament player, because he can absolutely nuke the slate, like you said. I'm fine with him. I think he has a massive ceiling as long as he gets those 24 minutes. I don't even need to see upper 20s at this price tag. He can go nuts with blocks. He can grab rebounds. Just a great fantasy player. Saw the 24 minutes last game. I'm in on Gafford for sure. Just be prepared for heartbreak.
Yeah, Dallas has a lot of bodies. Marshall was good last year. Max Christie was really good for a while last year. Brandon Williams, they have all these guys. That being said, D'Angelo Russell, really nice price here. What are your guys' interest in him? Whether it's props or in the DFS streets.
Can we just stop with the Cooper Flag at point guard stuff, please?
Yeah, I know.
I know D'Angelo Russell is a flawed player. I know that he is. Don't get me wrong. He is not the answer for Dallas at point guard. But we've proven that Cooper Flag is not either. Let's stop stunting his development. Let's get Cooper Flag into the correct role. Let D'Angelo Russell run the point and just move on with our lives. It seems like a pretty simple thing to do here.
That's the other thing. They're not torching Flag. He's gonna be absurdly good. I don't think anyone's overly worried about it. But let the point guard run point guard. Let Flag do what he does. It feels too obvious, and they're just no, Flag's a really good point guard. We should just stick him there. It makes no sense.
I get that he's an outstanding facilitator for a big, but let him be a big first and then facilitate. He can be in that Nikola Jokic type role where he is extremely valuable out of the post, distributing the basketball. He doesn't need to be running point to be able to do that.
I'm with it. We got one more game. Thanks for sticking with us here at Props, Primetime Props, NBA show every Wednesday for now. Free, 4 to 5 Eastern. All of our content free, props.com. Type it in right now, props.com. Any kind of prop bets you're looking for, ton of game previews. NFL live odds comparison tool is off the charts. So many resources at props.com, and it's all free. If you like what you've heard, please give our YouTube channel a subscription. We're trying to grow that bad boy, and you'll get notifications when we go live here. And occasionally you'll see my stupid face doing some shorts. Gotta love those short videos, but gotta do what you gotta do. And what we gotta do is talk about this last game here, Denver and Miami. And we talked about Miami at the top of the hour a little bit here, playing absurdly fast. Is this pace something you're buying into, Keith Eister? The Miami pace?
I feel better that Orlando's going to finish top 10 in pace. And I think that Miami will too. But like I said, Spoelstra's been saying that Miami's going to play fast for 3 years, it feels like. And they just haven't until this season. What happens when Tyler Hero comes back remains to be seen. I think there are more moving parts, but I feel pretty good about them at least playing fast in this spot. I think this is an awesome game environment. I think it's a great game stack in DFS. Obviously, you have some amazing fantasy players with Jokic. Jamal Murray's been incredible this season as well. So those two are pretty easy on the Denver side. Miami gets a little bit tougher. I really like Bam in the spot. With the move of Khalil Ware back to the bench, sliding Bam back to the center spot. It does increase the foul trouble risk a little bit, but it also increases the double-double upside massively. We've seen this play out against Jokic in the past where he buries guys down underneath the glass, and Bam's going to be right under the boards at all times in this game. It's a great rebounding spot for Bam. I love him moving back to the center spot. I think that raises his upside for DFS. I think you can hit the over 8.5 rebounds for sure. I also really like Jaime Jaquez has had a strong role off the bench here as kind of a sneaky piece here, a little bit cheaper option to add some Miami exposure. Norm Powell's been really good with the usage, but Jaquez I think is pretty sneaky. And then Davion Mitchell has really been quite a facilitator. I like his assists in this spot. 9 and 8 assists the last 2 games. We've seen him play low 30s minutes since coming to the Heat on multiple occasions. So Mitchell assists, Bam rebounds, and Jaquez, I think I'd just attack him with PRA. He can do a little bit of everything.
Yeah, I'm seeing 20.5 PRA for Jaquez on underdog, 11.5 points. So pretty obtainable number if the game stays competitive. Bells, what say you about this one?
Yeah, I think he nailed Davion Mitchell. He said at 6.5 assists. It's too low for him. He's been an elite facilitator basically the entire season for him. I don't think that changes tonight. And Denver gives up a ton of assists to opposing point guards. So I think that's the number one thing. On the flip side, Miami also gives up a ton of assists to opposing point guards. And I think this is generally a spot where like Jamal Murray just goes overlooked. Murray's averaging like pretty close to the same number of potential assists per game as Davion Mitchell. He's averaging 11.5. You just also have Jokic, who I believe it's 18.2 potential assists per game. So like when you're just scrolling through it, you notice Jokic is like so high that you would more or less assume that, you know, Murray can't be that high either. But 11.5 potential assists per game isn't anything kind of to raise your nose at. And I'm pretty sure Murray set at like 5.5 assists tonight. So I think that that's a good spot for him. And then, you know, if you want to go Jokic, feel free. The dude is unbelievable. I don't know if the number one matchup that I would choose him in is against Bam, who's obviously a very good defender, but I'm also never really going to talk you off of the best player in the NBA.
Well, if you believe in pace, if you believe in the Miami pace, then I like, you know, Jokic isn't one who strikes you as, you know, an athletic guy who's going to thrive in pace, but he's the quarterback of that team. I mean, a couple more outlet passes, a couple more up and down trips, like they all matter. In terms of DFS, Keith, Jokic is obviously very expensive. Is there enough value for him on this slate to make him like a clear priority? Or, you know, how do you play him tonight for DFS in your portfolio?
Yeah, I think you need to see what injury stuff plays out. I would like a little bit more value before I'm just jamming him in. I haven't looked at his ownership number. Obviously, Jokic always starts out like 10% early in the morning, and then by the time we get to lock, he's sitting at like 25%. So obviously, you want to play him. You need some exposure if you're making 10 lineups even, I would say. You're getting to him in one of your first three more than likely. But tough price tag and not a ton of value. Last I checked in on the DFS slate, I'm seeing 21% now ownership on Jokic around the industry, where he was down around 10 early in the day. So it becomes now like, at what point does it become good to move off of him because he's so expensive and there isn't great value on this slate yet? Now, if more value opens up and it becomes easier to get him in because of that value, then I think you play him with the field is generally how I like to play him. When he's low owned, I love to go overweight on him. But when he's seeing that 20 to 25 range and he's up around 12, 13K, I think you're okay to just play him with the field. He's as good as it gets, obviously. So you have to have some exposure.
On the DraftKings, go ahead.
I was just going to say the other aspect with someone like Jokic is that it's not the multi-positional eligibility. And like max, you get two centers. We already talked about Nurkic is like way too cheap at what, 5,200 or whatever he's set at, 5,300. Yeah. And then if you also want to look at, like, we talked pretty heavily about Daniel Gafford, but then we have Looney, like he's strictly center. Luckily, Queen, I believe, is power forward eligible. So that doesn't, you know, kind of just stick those guys all in the exact same bag. But it's not easy to nail a bunch of, like, you can only play at max two centers. So I don't know, especially with more or less, I think a lot of people are playing Nurkic tonight. It kind of gives you one spot to fit Jokic into your lineup, and that kind of leaves you a little constricted.
Good stuff. Yeah, and your boy Trendon Watford, who nobody's going to play, just hanging around there as well. That might be like my greasy, like large field play of the evening. But a lot of ways to go with the big men on this slate, whether you're going all the way up or almost all the way down. And Nurkic and a couple others are kind of right there in the middle. So that being said, Keith, I'll go over to you first. Do you have a favorite play or a favorite prop bet tonight that we've discussed?
We didn't even talk about the game, but I do absolutely love Jonathan Kuminga over 21.5 points. He has a usage rate above 30% without Steph Curry this season. Curry's out more than likely, almost certainly, and Jimmy Butler left in the first half yesterday, or right at the beginning of the second half, and did not come back. Not sure if he's going to play. Pods is on the injury report. Draymond Green's on the injury report. It just feels like a spot for Kerr to pull some shenanigans. I think more people are resting in Golden State. Kuminga is a great bet at 21.5 points with Curry out. If more people are out, it only grows from there. So get in on Kuminga at 21.5 points. Of the games we did talk about, I'm trying to think back now. Siakam, I think, is probably my favorite angle. Over 39.5 points, rebounds, and assists for Siakam in a massive role for Indy.
Bells, what do you got?
Yeah, mine comes down to 2. Davion Mitchell over 6.5 assists. That's too low. And then I'm sticking with Trendon Watford over 15.5 points, rebounds, and assists. That is so low.
Yeah, he has the ball in his hands a lot. I like the call a lot. Just for time purposes, we didn't talk about the late games here, but if you're looking for some info, props.com, we have game previews on all 3 of those late games for Wednesday night that we didn't talk about. So that's it. If you guys like what you heard, please give our YouTube channel a follow. You will see us next on Friday at 4:00 Eastern to talk some NFL football for this weekend slate, and we'll be joined by our good friend Jeff Edelstein for that one. And you can catch us right here next week for NBA Wednesday again. So again, give our YouTube channel a follow, get that like button for us, get on over there, props.com. Everything is completely free. So we are going to head on out of here. Can't thank you guys enough for tuning in. For Keith Eister and Justin Bells, I am Justin Carlucci. Good luck, everybody, and we'll see you on Friday.